Hi, Salam Alaikum. Welcome. Suleiman Raheem here. Let's slay some demons. Brothers and sisters, those of you who are paying attention and not being distracted can see it's getting hotter and hotter every day. We're fast closing in on the boiling point. There's so much to say and so little time to say it in. I want to focus on a couple of things today. I want to talk a little bit about Daniel, a subject I'm very reluctant to talk about because it's very difficult. In fact, the last couple of chapters of Daniel are very difficult. You have to have a firm understanding of the first few chapters to even touch the last couple of chapters. But I'm going to just have some highlights because some of the things they're saying there are very pertinent about what's happening now, about what's to happen. Like I said, Daniel is a complement. It's a complement to the angel. Daniel has 12 chapters. The angel has 22 chapters. But the 13th chapter of the angel is the 13th chapter of Daniel. If you look at it carefully, you'll see they converge at that point because the major symbols in Daniel are in chapter 13 of the angel. That's the only place they're found. The bear, the leopard, only place they're found in chapter 13, only place they're found in Daniel. So we're going to look at a couple of verses. I'm not going to go do a in detailed analysis. It's very difficult to do that in Daniel. I'll give you some food for thought. You can look at it. But again, it's very, very, very difficult to parse out, to tease out the last few chapters of Daniel. Very, very difficult. But both books are sealed, and both will be unsealed at the end. And that would be the credentials of Suleiman that he broke the seals. Now, if any of these so-called messiahs, anointed, whatever, have broken the seals, then let them present the evidence. So you be clear on where the truth lies based on the person that has the credentials. And it says only one person would have those credentials to break those seals. So if you know someone who has broken them, then go with it. Have at it. If you don't, then you should seek out the one that does, because the scriptures are very clear on that point. There will be only one person here in the West. See, because you have Farad, the God, he'll be fighting in the East to pray for you, but it'll be only one in the West that has the truth, has broken the seals, and the only one you should be listening to. It says, those who are not with me are against me. They're not helping, they're scattering, they're causing confusion. And all these clowns out here that claim they have some knowledge, claim they speak for Elijah, claim they speak for Moses, claim they whatever. They're all liars, and they're confused, they're causing confusion, and they will all pay a price for it, a severe price. Because they was about the truth, they were behind this message. They're behind the person that broke the seals. If they have not broke the seals, they should be quiet. They should be talking at all until they found the person that broke the seals and get behind that message. It's very clear. Just like before Joshua or Jesus came, Elijah was the messenger. It's very clear in Malachi. And everybody that wasn't behind Elijah, right, they were liars and thieves. Because it's very clear. So if they wasn't behind Elijah, then you should be behind them, even listening to them talking about anything. See? And then after Elijah will come Aaron, and that's the one you should be listening to, which everyone seems to be listening to. The scriptures are very clear on these points, brothers and sisters. Anyway, so let's get into the presentation. But I want to say just a couple more things before we do that. We're told there's 2 resurrections. Have you heard that before? 2 resurrections. They don't tell you. It's Elijah raised Lazarus. No, he did not. Lazarus would not be raised until after the 4 winds. There's 2 resurrections. Read Ezekiel. Brothers and sisters, I'm bringing these scriptures very home to you. You've never seen anything like this before. See, because they talk, know this, know that, whatever. They have no idea what they're talking about. And often, almost 99% of the time, they're conflicting. They're in conflict with themselves because they don't understand scriptures. They say one, then they say no scripture. Their interpretation of it totally annihilates what they just said a minute ago. And that's very typical. This Ishmael, Farrakhan spokesman, that guy, he can't say 3 words that don't contradict each other. And they have contort. You don't see it here. You don't see it here. Excuse me. You don't see it. We study the scripture. And we put the information out there where you can look and ascertain whether it's correct or not. You don't see us contorting, distorting, shaving the scriptures. You don't see us doing that here. So we're in a very critical time. So let me get on the presentation. I'll have something said on the back end of this. And like I said, I'm not going to detailed analysis. That's impossible at this point in time, but you have to have a thorough knowledge of Daniel. And I don't think any one of you does. And so to do a detailed analysis would be impossible. Now, I did lay out some parameters. I did lay out some groundwork in my previous video about Daniel. So if you watched that, you studied it, then you have some idea what I'm talking about now. Otherwise, it'd probably be very foreign to you. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's go into the presentation. The ram and the goat. Now, I'm just going to say this, speak on this for a second. Now you do not need to have anything written to you about times and dates, brothers, for you yourselves know very well that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night, when people will say there is peace and security. Destruction will strike them as suddenly as labor pains come to a pregnant woman, and they will not be able to escape. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which heaven shall pass away with great noise, elements will melt with fervent heat, earth also, the works that are therein shall be burned up. Okay, these verses here is telling you, is giving you a feel for what the end will look like. And it's telling you, right, that just prior to the destruction, right, they would be saying peace and security. In other words, they won't have any ideas coming. They would think peace and security is coming when hell and destruction is coming. See? And you see now, the idea is, oh, everything's starting to work out. Things will be better than before. See, peace in the Middle East, never was. Oh, peace is breaking out in the Middle East. That's supposed to be a great accomplishment. And we're going to get the virus under control, and we'll have a better economy, better than ever. You see. And why we talk about pregnant women? We talked about that before. I'm not going to that now. And it says, but it will come as a thief in the night, which heaven shall pass away with a great noise, elements shall melt with fervent heat, and earth, all the works that are therein will be burned up. This gets into the angel. And if you understand this, the works represents America and Britain. I don't think I really elaborated on that, but when I was presenting this video the other day. And I won't do it here. But it says the works of the earth, that America and Britain represents the works. Okay? If you read chapter 2 and chapter 3 of the Angel, right, you have 3 people talking there. One speaks to the spirit, one speaks to the works, and one speaks to the but, B-U-T, if you have a transliteral translation. The top two, there's 6 wings to each one. The top 2 wings represents the spirit. That's the Islamic part of it. The bottom 2 represents the bottom 2. We just leave it there. But the middle 2 represents the works. That would be America and Britain. And it says they will be burned up. See? So, destruction is on the way. It says wrath upon these people. I'm not going to that because I went to the previous videos. I think I'm going to really elaborate on that on my next video, but not here, because we want to talk about Daniel. Okay, let's look at this ram. I want to say one thing here. You see what it says in the 3rd year, the reign of Belshazzar? I'm going to elaborate on that one of these days if I have time. That is talking about something totally, when they say that, that itself is code. There's a whole story behind that. Every time they say in the 3rd year this or 2nd year this, that itself is a significant code. I'm not going to elaborate here. Daniel is very subtle. That's why I'm very reluctant to talk about it, right? Because it's so difficult to. The first chapter is not so bad, but when you get to the end, anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about it. Now, it describes this ram. It said the ram. Now, the reason why I'm talking, because we need to focus right here on these horns, right? Okay. Now, this ram had 2 horns, right, which were long, but the longer one, right, was the one that came up last. It had 2 horns, but the longer one came up last. See? And it says it was budding westward, northward, and southward. That means it's coming from the east. See? That's where Britain came from, and America, that's where it originated. See? Because the ram, the 2 horns on the ram represent America and Britain. Right? The ram itself represents false Israel. So it's telling you, ram, this is how Daniel talks. Instead of just saying it's coming from the east, it's pushing westward, northward, and southward. That means it's coming from the east. The move westward have to come from the east, right? And the north and the south. So it's not coming from the north and the south because it says northward and southward. So it's coming from the east. But this is very important the way they describe here because you need to know, right? See? Because this itself has an explanation. And no other beast could stand before him, nor was anyone to rescue from his power, but he did as he pleased and magnified himself. This is Gog and Magog, their power. They're the world powers now. They did what they wanted. They do what they want to do. See? And they give in the 3rd year the reign of Belshazzar. Belshazzar, in this context here, represents Obama. See? But it doesn't mean that he's in power at the point. It just, that's something else. I probably should even mention that. Okay, here's the ram, right? It says he had 2 horns, but the greater horn, right, America can't last. Okay? And now there's the goat. Now I was observing, behold, a male goat was coming from the west over the surface of the, now here they pretty close here. It's coming from the west, right? See, it's coming from the west. See it clearly. Over the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground, and the goat had a conspicuous horn between his eyes. He only had one horn. See, the ram had two horns, but the goat only has one. And he has between his eyes, so it mentions his eyes. That's important, but we're not going to talk about that here. And he came to the ram that had the two horns, which had been standing in front of the canal, and rushed him in his mighty wrath. He was wrathful at this ram. They're angry. I saw him come beside the ram. He was in, remember, so he's coming. He was enraged at him. So he come at him, and then, he like to pause, but then he's near him. And he raised him and struck the ram and shattered his two horns. And the ram had no strength to withstand him. Remember, the ram was powerful. Nobody could stop him, but his goat does. So he hurls him to the ground and tramples on him. There was none to rescue the ram from his power. Then the male goat magnified himself exceedingly, but as soon as he was mighty, the large horn was broken. In its place came four conspicuous horns toward the four winds of heaven. This is very important. The male goat magnified himself exceedingly. So this is a world power now. And as soon as he was mighty, the large horn was broken. In its place there came four conspicuous horns. So that horn, whatever that one was, is broken up into four parts, right, towards the four winds of heaven. So why it says four horns towards the four winds of heaven? Well, that's 8. That's very important, right? But also it says, now if you go back to Angel, right, we're talking about the dragon who had 7 heads and 10 horns, and the crowns was upon his heads. But then there was this beast. He had 7 heads and 7 horns. 7 heads and 10 horns. But the crowns were upon his horns. So this is the same story here, because after the dragon loses power, and power is transferred to the beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, and the crowns upon his horns. So it's a transfer of power. You see the same thing here, because the ram was all powerful, but now the goat is all powerful. And this goat represents that beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns and crowns upon his horns. Okay? And the ram represents the goat, where the power was on his heads. The goat represents the dragon who had the crowns upon his heads. So that's the connection between the two. Okay? So keep in mind here, the red goat has 1 horn, the ram has 2 horns. Right? But the horn on the goat gets broken up into 4 parts towards the 4 winds of heaven. Okay, so let's see, we'll go with that. There's the goat, right? And they get into it. See, they get into it. Okay, so I'm going to cut to the chase here on this, and then we'll go into this statement right here. When it says the goat, right? Okay. Let's look at this. The ram had 2 horns. The goat has 1. Right? But the goat is broken up into 4 parts towards the 4 winds of heaven. That's 8. So 8 plus the 2 is 10. That represents the 10 toes of the statue. There. So in other words, the goat is also the leopard who had 4 heads and 4 wings. That's why it says towards the 4 winds of heaven, right? Because that's wings. I tell you, it's very subtle stuff here. See? It says 4 conspicuous horns toward the 4 winds of heaven. So it's broken with 4, right? 4 conspicuous horns towards the 4 winds of heaven. Winds imply wings. So it's telling you that the goat is also, the horn of the goat is also the leopard that had 4 wings and 4 heads. And that represents, the 4 wings represents India, because the wings represents democracy, and the heads represent authority, the authoritarian, that's China, okay? And yellow with brown spots. That gets back to the angel again, right? Yellow with brown spots, so Oriental and the brown, and Asian. Okay, so hope you follow that. So now we know that's really a leopard, see, and the two horns represents the eagle. So what you do is you transfer. The goat represents the leopard, and the ram represents the eagle with two wings. Okay? Let me say it again. That horn on the goat represents the leopard. Remember, it's broken into four parts with four wings. That's the four heads and the four wings of the leopard. And the ram represents the eagle that had two wings. Right? It's also democracy. And that's Britain and America. Okay? I say it's very subtle. Very subtle. Okay. Trump versus China. In the first year of Darius the Mede, that's Farad. But don't get hung up on this first year of Darius the Mede, because that itself is a code. Remember I mentioned earlier, right? In the first year second year of Nebuchadnezzar, right? So that's code itself. I rose to be an encouragement and a protection for him, and now I will tell you the truth. Behold, there are three more kings are going to rise in Persia. Okay, now who's Persia? See, you remember this coded book, so why would they tell you that Persia is Persia? Persia doesn't represent Persia. Persia actually represents America, but let's move on here. Behold, three more kings are going to arise in Persia. The fourth will gain far more riches than all of them. As soon as he becomes strong through his riches, he will arouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. Okay, let's look at this. I'm going to parse this out. I'm not going to go a lot of great detail, but I'm trying to explain it as best I can here, where you can understand it. The three more kings will arise in Persia. Okay, and there's a four, so there's four there altogether. Now, what's this for? Four, okay. There's something else that's a four. Okay, we're not talking about the four on the we're not talking about on the ram, because that's eight altogether. But there was four horns altogether. Remember, there was four horns altogether. It tells you there was one little horn that plucked up three horns by the root. There was this little horn that plucked up three horns by the root. That's four horns altogether. That's what it's talking about here, right? So there's four horns. So it's three more kings are going to rise in Persia. That's four horns. That's the four horns. And the fourth will be gained far more rich than all of them. Now, what does that mean? Okay, remember on the goat, right? He had two horns. Not the goat, the ram. Ram had two horns, but one was greater than the other one. See, the last one was greater than the other one. See, behold, three more kings will rise in Persia. The fourth will gain more rich than all of them. He's the last one. See, the fourth, he's the last one. And the last horn was greater than the other one. That's what, brothers and sisters, I told you so. See? And he was more powerful than the first horn. So he's talking about America. That's what he's talking about, America right here. And soon as he becomes rich, strong through his riches, he will arouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. Now, where's the conflict here? See? Okay, let's take a little further before I explain it. And a mighty king will arise. He will rule with great authority and do as he pleases. Remember, I mentioned to you that the goat. Okay, this is a conflict here. Who is the conflict between? The conflict between the ram and the goat. So that should tell you a lot right there, right? Because he's going to have the whole kingdom. He's going against the realm of Greece. So there's two realms there. So there's only two realms mentioned here. That's the ram and the goat. So we determine that the ram is this first king, right? The one that the fourth that will gain the fourth one, right? Okay. So Greece must represent the goat. And let's look at it. It said, a mighty king will arise that will rule with great authority. Authoritarian, that remember, I said the goat is also the leopard. And the four heads of the leopard represents authority because it's authoritarian. So it's talking about China. A mighty king will rule with great authority, authoritarian, they're communists, and do as he pleases. See? But as soon as he rises, kingdom will be broken and parceled out to 4 points. See, there it is. They tell you who he's talking about because remember he's broke his kingdom. Remember the horn will be broken into 4 parts. Okay, it's very subtle. But the point I want to make here, it says, what does it says here? It says, and the fourth will gain more rich than all of them. As soon as he becomes strong to his rich, he will arouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. Trump is going to arouse all of the European powers. Remember the ram. The ram represents the ram. 2 horns is American Britain, right? See, but when it says the realm, that means all the European countries. He's going to arouse the whole empire against the realm of Greece. What is Trump doing? He just went to the UN. He's trying to get everybody to go against China. That's why I said, maybe, because remember, this was not supposed to be revealed to the end. And so now that we're at the end, maybe you understand it better. See, that's what he just did. That's what he's been doing. He's trying to turn everybody against, see, because you think it's talking about ancient Greece. No, because they're talking about this is Alexander the Great and stuff. This is bullshit. This is supposed to be released at the end. So how in hell, if it revealed at the end, and why are you talking about Alexander the Great? How is that going to help us? So I try to give you, I go with more analysis. I'm going to just take it that far. So you have to look at it very carefully. So we know this king represents America, and the realm of Greece represents China. See, the authoritarian part of the leopard, which is China. He's going to rouse the whole empire against the realm, and that's what's going on right now. See, it says, as soon as he risen, the kingdom will be broken. Right? It said, remember, it says, and the mighty king will rise, he will rule with great authority and do as he pleases. Remember, before the ram was doing as he pleases. So that means he's already took care of the ram. Now he's doing as he pleases. See? Before the ram was doing his pleasing. Now the goat is doing his pleasing, he already took down the ram. But as soon as he has risen, right, his kingdom, because the horn was broken in the 4 parts after he defeated the ram. See? Okay? Hopefully you understand that, brothers and sisters. Now this is interesting right here. Now in those times, many will arise against the king of the south. I'm not going into a lot of detail about this king of the south, king of the north. I'm just going to say here the king of the south represents America, and the king of the north represents, well, the king of the south represents America, and it represents the ram. Okay. The king of the south represents America and Britain, if all is really. Okay. At those times, many will rise up against the king of the south. Right? America against America, specifically. The violent ones among your people will also lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they will fall down. What does that mean? The violent ones among your people. Who are our people? Ishmael are our people. They are our brothers. We're Isaac. Ishmael is our brothers. The Arabs, they are our brothers. Right? They got light skin, but they're Ishmael. They're our brothers. They betrayed us. They threw us in the pit. Right? God helped enslave us in Egypt because they were jealous of us, because they wanted inheritance. And so they sold us out. So because they wanted to inherit, they thought they should inherit. they should inherit the Abrahamic promise, not us. So they sold us out, right? Anyway, they are people. So the violent ones and wicked people lift themselves up. What vision? They're trying to restore the Prophet Muhammad's empire. But it says they will fail. Okay, and that's exactly what's happened. I'm trying to explain this to you, brothers, as best I can. Then the king of North represents Iran, will come and cast up a siege and ramp and capture a well-fortified city. They're going to take down false Israel. And the force of the South will not stand their ground. That means for the South, America and Britain will fail. They will not stand their ground. Not even their choicest troops. But there will be no strength to make a stand. They will be defeated. Even their best troops, they will be defeated. That's what it's telling you. So it's telling you ISIS will be. That's the so-called terrorists. That's the ones they're trying to establish. Remember ISIS, they tried to establish, right? They're the violent ones. They tried to establish, reestablish the Prophet Muhammad's empire, right? They failed. They just recently failed. Then the king of North will come, right? That's Iran. And will cast them a siege. They will take false Israel, a well-fortified city. That's got to be Israel, false Israel. So it's well fortified, but they're going to take it. And the force of the South, America and Britain will not be able to help them. See? Even with their choicest troops. And they will have no strength. And if they're going to just make a stand, that means they're going to be kicked out. That's what this is telling you. I think this is even clearer than the other ones. Okay, let's go here. Now it's talking about the war again. It gives a little more detail. At the point in time, he will return and come into the south. But this time it will not turn out the way it did before. Right? For ships of Kittim will come against him, they will be disheartened and return to come and raise at the holy covenant and take action. Be very careful here. Right? See? And so in other words, it's like something happened. In other words, there was a war against Iran back in the 80s, I believe it was. Right? But it says it won't be the same this time. See? But at the point they return and come into the south. But it's time it will not turn the way it did before. So the ships of Kittim will come against him, if he be disheartened and return and come and raise at the holy covenant, take action. What's the holy covenant? That's the Abrahamic covenant. See? Let's look on this a little further. And so he will come and he will show regard for those who forsake the holy covenant. Right? That's Farrakhan, right? And his demons and the evangelicals, right? Because they have forsaken the holy covenant. Well, not the they have forsaken. It's false. It's Farrakhan's demons. They're the ones that have forsaken the holy covenant. They say we're not going nowhere. They've forsaken it. See, you have regard for them. See, against the true followers of Elijah Muhammad and those who are with the Lamb. Forces from him will arise and desecrate the sanctuary force to do with a regular sacrifice, except this gets more complicated. I'm not going to all this. By smooth words, he would turn to godless those who act wickedly towards the covenant. See, who's acted wickedly towards the covenant? You see, that's primarily the demons, but it's also the evangelicals. Right? But the people who know, what they talk about here is the tribulation. But people know that God will display strength and take action. See? So read this carefully. The war takes place, right? For ships of Kittim will come against him. Okay, it explains a little more in the next verse, in the next page. Anyway, this is the war, right? So after the war, right? Okay, it's going to be clear that we are the true seed of Abraham, because the whole idea is that false Israel, they claim that's the seed of Abraham. But the covenant says once they return to their land, they would never be removed. Now they just got wiped out. We saw that in the previous page, right? They got wiped out. So they couldn't be. So now it's clear that we are the true seed of Abraham. So that's why they have regard for those who forsake the covenant. See? Because now it's clear who we are. Because false Israel wasn't. They set false Israel up. The reason false Israel was set up to destroy the narrative that Elijah Muhammad said, we're the true seed of Abraham. But now that figment of their imagination has failed. That lie they set has failed. So it's clear that we are the true seed of Abraham. So now they have regard for those, because the covenant is clear. So how can they have regard for those who forsake the covenant if you don't know what the covenant is? What covenant? The covenant is the covenant of Abraham. The covenant, that's the only covenant they could be talking about. Okay? So now, this is the demons fighting against the nation of Islam during the tribulation. See? Because he returned to become and raise his holy covenant. Now he's angry. Because now it's true that we are the true seed of Abraham. So he's enraged at the holy covenant because the holy covenant speaks against them. It means they know that they're about to be destroyed because of the covenant. He's enraged at it. They're angry because it's clear now. They can't hide it anymore. They can't hide it. 16, 19, or 20, 19, 20. They're in the state. Remember, this is this year. So they're going to realize the plague is from God. So they're going to be angry, right? And the plague is a result of the holy covenant, Abrahamic covenant. You understand? So those who's forsaken it, so they're going to have regard for Farrakhan and his clowns because they're actually working for them. That's why it says they're working for, I told you, Farrakhan, he's going to be outed. They're working for Satan. So they're going to have regard for them because they said, stay here, we ain't going nowhere. They're trying to trick us to turn against the covenant, to abrogate the covenant by taking some bullshit reparations. See? Okay. So then comes the tribulation. You see? Because at that time, right, that's when the four winds blow, everybody comes together. See? But the demons are separated out. So now they back with the devils. If you watched it, watch the key, right? They're back with the devils. So at first, initially, right, they're working with them against the Nation of Islam. But then they get into a fight with each other and they go like they fight each other and they go to destruction together. That's another story. But it says he will show regard for those who forsake the holy covenant. So they're gonna be all together, both together will be against, right? The original people that are still here. See, the demons and the devils. Okay. And they will, and by smooth words, he will turn to godliness those who act wickedly towards the covenant. See? So who's acting wickedly towards the covenant? That's the devils. See, they're acting wickedly towards the covenant, also demons too. But the people who know that God will display strength to take action. That's the inner eye, right? Now they know it's clear. That's them going through tribulation. They're in tribulation period now. Those that have insight among the people will give understanding to the many. Yet, see, this during the period of time, they go out here and they're getting the rest of the lost found. You understand? That they should have been brazen up during the 42 years after Elijah left, but they was tricked by Farrakhan. And so now that's why Jesus set them back. So you got to go back and witness. See, and that's what they're doing right now. See? Because they're witnessing to the lost founds during the tribulation period. Those that insight among the people will give strength, give understanding to the many. See, they're witnessing to them. That's how they give them understanding, right? Yet they fall by sword, by flame, by captivity, by plunder for many days. That's the tribulation. Now when they fall, they will be granted a little help. And many will join with them in hypocrisy. And I said there will be a lot of Negroes and demons or whatever. They're going to try to, hey man, they see what's happening. They're going to try to say, hey man, we with y'all. See, they pretend to be with him because now they see the hand right on the wall. So they said, you got to be careful about that. And some of those who have insight will fall in order to refine, purge, and make them pure until the time in, because it's still coming. So in other words, they're going to fall trying to get those rest of the lost found. Wake them up. No. Explain to what's going on. That's the tribulation they're talking about there. So you can research and study it. I'm just touching highlights here. Okay. Now this is what I was saying. This is the second part of what I just said, right? And it's actually talking about the war. At the end of time, the king of the south, that's America, will collide with him, right? That's the king of the north. And the king of the north, that's Iran, will storm against him with chariots, with horsemen, and many ships. See? They'll say it won't be like the first time. You enter the country, overflow, then it pass through. Otherwise, he's going to kick ass. See? He'll come over. He's going to be overwhelmed. America's not going to be expecting what it's about to hit them, because they think they're going to win the war. They're going to be a cakewalk, and they're not going to be anticipate what's about to hit them. It says at the end of time. Remember, at the end of time. Now we're at the end now. So it wasn't for 2,000 years ago. At the end time, the king of the south, America, will collide with him. The king of the north will storm against him with chariots, horsemen, and many ships. He will enter the countries, overflowing them and pass through. That means he's going to conquer all these countries. All the countries, going to conquer the whole Middle East. He also enter the beautiful land, and many countries will fall. Right? That's talking about Africa. They're already in Africa. The Middle East is Africa, is North Africa. And many countries will fall, but these will be rescued out of his hand. Edom, Moab, the foremost sons of Ammon. They're talking about Jordan or whatever. But I'm not going to all that. Then stretch him out against other countries, and the land of Egypt will not escape. See? But he will gain control over hidden treasures of the gold, the silver, and over all. We're talking about America's not going to escape. So it's talking about the fall of America itself after the war. And Libya will follow. It says, and Libya and Ethiopia will follow at its heels. See, they're talking about the invasion of America. Remember I said the Christian Africans will be with Obama. See? Yeah, Africa would unite into two parts, the Islamic part and the Christian part. See, and it says when they attack Egypt, right, the Africans going to be with them. When China and India attacked Egypt, America invaded, the Africans going to be with them, led by Obama. African Confederation. It could be two federations, a Christian federation and an Islamic federation. Obama, right, the one to ride on the white horse in the first seal, who went for conquering and the conquer. What was the first conquest? The President of the United States. The second one will be this one. But rumors from the east and the north will disturb him. See, so if that's from the east, so who is it talking about here? See, you have to be careful to start using these pronouns. What him are they talking about? That's why, Dan, you better be very careful. See, so if it's coming from, so he must be in the west, south, and the west. See, remember the king of the south, right? Okay, that's south. But remember the ram, right? He was in the west. Okay, southwest. Careful of these, right? And so the rooms for the east and the west. So who's the north, right? That means, okay, that's where it's third. He would go forth. This is when, just before they invaded, it was third. He would go forth with great wrath, destroy and annihilate many. See, that means America is already at war in Europe, right? And then when they see the invaded armies of China and India coming towards America, they're going to go crazy and try to destroy everything. See? But he will come to his end and no one will help him. Remember the ram? The ram is the one that came to an end and no one helped him. So it's talking about the ram there. You have to be very careful. They give you hints all over the place. The ram is the one that comes in and no one helps him. That's American Britain. Okay, brothers and sisters, I think that's about all right there. Okay, brothers and sisters, I'm going to, I think I'm going to pretty much close it out there. Hope you understand. What I'm trying to do is give you what the environment will look like, what time, it's describing what it would look like at the end times. It's telling you what the end times will be and what it will look like. And it says one thing is you're going to have Trump, right? They describe, there's more about Daniel, because it describes actually the person. It says he would not be granted the majesty of the kingdom. That's Trump. They think he's an illegitimate president. They never had anyone like this guy. You see, it says people at his own table will betray him. That's what it is. You get people who are close to him, everybody's against him. See, but they don't want to even expect him as being a president. That's what it said. The master of the kingdom would not be conferred upon him. So they speak lies everywhere. So I'm not going to all that, right? But well, let's look at one other thing. Trump is the last president. For these things to happen, he have to be the last president. He have to win the election. All these things will be going on. He'd be before by election time. Okay? There's, you always see he's pushing against Iran right now. Who he's pushing against? He's pushing against Iran and China. He went to the UN yesterday, and that's what he pushed. He was pushing against Iran and China. I've been talking about this for years, especially all this year, and now you see it unfolding right before your face. You'll see Lion Farrakhan talking about it. He's quickest. You know, he was talking about anything because he don't know anything. He's trying to see what happens. See, that's like driving down the street blind at 100 miles an hour, trying to see if you're going to run into anything or not. So stay in that car with him. Stay in that car right here. Make sure you better have some good seatbelts on. And make sure you got some very good, what they call those bags, airbags. You in a whole bunch of them. Your stylist too. See, all I want to talk about this, explain it in detail, is myself. And anyone that's out there talking and they're not behind this, then they're in trouble and they're going to pay the price because they're liars and deceivers. Because this is clear. So how come they're not behind it? Because they're either agents or demons or just stupid. Either way, we don't want them. And their days are numbered anyway. See? Because some of them will suffer the same fate as these preachers. See? These preachers, pastors, and reverends. When the scripture is very clear, how come they didn't get behind Elijah? When this stuff hits the fan, this shit hits the fan, as they say. See? And when people invade, and people, when they invade, it says they're going to invade from the West Coast. The West Coast is America's breadbasket. It says they're going to cut off the food supply. Is then they're going to have people running. You're going to think trucks will be delivering food to the stores when America's invading? You think everybody goes to buy some food? People will be starving. They say they're going to cut their food off. And these people, 1 meal a day, you kidding? These people can't go 1 meal a day. That's starvation. And they ain't going to be able to either because their food will be going so fast. They'll be starving. So they're going to eat their own children. Someone will eat their own children for eat their pets. And if they would do that, what do they think they do with you? You think they wouldn't eat you before they eat their children? It's going to be horrible times. It says, give them double. Read chapter 18. These people about to suffer. It says, wrath will be upon these people. Wrath upon them. God's wrath. Just not the wrath of fraud. It says both of them read the sixth seal. Both of them. the wrath of God, the God and wrath of the Suleiman, the high priest, the wrath of both. You're trying to put one in, trying to separate them from what it says. In chapter 19, it says what? Farad is the one that made, they prepared war for him. That's in the east. That's the war that's about to break out. But there's another war that's coming down I won't talk to you much about. I said there's this war that's going to take place that Obama's going to lead, that they don't talk too much about in the angel, but they do talk about in Daniel, right? It says once we're at home at peace, is then, and after the ram and after the China, India, and Africa unite together, take down the ram, they don't get to fight with each other. And it says in that fight, remember, it says that this one little horn plucked up three by the roots. Three horns. Who's the three horns? That's the ram, knocked that down, and the goat too. So he helps the ram, he helps the goat defeat the ram, and then he defeats the goat. And then he comes after us. See, you don't understand the scripture. See, you have a controversy there. You have Lucifer. Who is Lucifer? Lucifer is Obama. See, and Michael, that's Farad. See? And there was a controversy there between Michael and Lucifer. Both of them were archangels, very powerful angels, right? But Lucifer was jealous of Michael because Michael was a step above him. And so he thought he should be the top archangel. And they get at it. And that's what's going to happen. But it says, in the end, in that final war would not be between, right, India and China. Because remember, India and China, they're going to be under the control of Obama at that point. In chapter 17, read it carefully. There was the beast that had 7 heads and 10 horns, and the crowns upon his horns. That's China, India, after the power has been shifted to them, after European countries were taken out. And then there was another scarlet beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns, but no crowns upon his heads. So he'd be alongside the beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns, and the crown was one. That means he's with them. See? But he overcomes them. And it says, but what they say? It said, these 10 kings will make war with the Lamb. Not with Farad, not with Michael, with the Lamb. See, that's the final war. See, the Lamb is going to be the general of that war. But it says the Lamb will overcome them because he's the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. The Lamb has a title of Lord of Lords and King of Kings. But Farad, the God, has a title of King and Lord of Lords. It's 2 different titles. They sound the same, it's different. One is Lord of Lords and King of Kings, one is King and Lord of Lords. And Daniel deals with that controversy quite a bit. I'm not going to it, because that would just really confuse you. This relationship between the Lamb and the God. Just stuff to say, right? And Jesus taught, he gave a hint. He says, if Suleiman is David's son, then why did David call Suleiman Lord? Think about that. I was going to bring the quote, I forgot about it. It says, if Solomon was David's son. Solomon is the king, he's the God. That's from God. And Solomon was his son of man. That's what son of man comes from, Solomon. See, he's the high priest. So Jesus' question then was, if Solomon is David's son, why did David call Solomon Lord? They couldn't answer, and you probably can't either. See, it's not important. Well, it is important, but not right now. That's the least thing we need to worry about right now. But I thought I'd bring that up because I had a question about that. See, and it's not time to really answer that question. See, because they're going to make more out of it than what it's worth. But you see, Trump went into the UN, and now he's pushing against Iran and China. So at the stage is being set. They said, I put it the other day, I can put it again, where they're saying that Trump is already preparing, right, because they're saying he's making preparations, right, to go to war with Iran before election day. See, this is being reported. It's reported quite a bit in False Israel. So this is where we are, brothers and sisters. When they say peace, sudden destruction, peace and security, they're saying that. See, everything's getting hot, getting hotter, getting towards the boiling point. Iran, China, Trump is making moves against Iran. He's putting more sanctions on Iran. He's attacking Iran, pushing against, and that's what it says. Daniel said, he'll push against the king of the north, or push the king of the south, or push against the king of the north. See, he's pushing at him. See, and he's making the goat angry. Remember, the goat got angry so bad. Why is he angry? Because Trump is angering him. He's blaming all this stuff on him. In fact, they're trying to actually say that China did it on purpose. If they could put that on China, that means that's biological war. That's a nuclear war. It means 200,000 people was just destroyed by a biological bomb. See? Remember, atomic bomb, when Hiroshima only killed 8,000 people, 80,000. So that's equivalent of 2.5 times of bombs dropped on America. I tried to explain that in pressure. I said, if you try to stop pressure, you can't stop pressure. It can't come in the form of water, it can't come in air. It's going to get through. Because everything creation has holes in it except protons. So it's going to come through no matter how good your filter is, it'll find a way through. So they can stop atomic bombs coming in, they can stop planes from coming in, they can stop submarines coming in, right? But they couldn't stop that little virus coming in. It did the same amount of destruction if there had been a nuclear war with North Korea or something. You got to understand that concept. And right now, once this war starts, that virus is going to get out of control. Exodus says it's going to be in the millions. Deaths. I'm not talking about cases, deaths. So you have millions of people dying from this virus. America's to be at war. You got the demons, the locusts tearing this country apart. Right? See? The people are going to be conscious of the covenant. We're going to be gone. The Nation of Islam, right, cleaned up, demon-free, will be left behind because they wouldn't listen and do their job. So they're going to be in this mess. And on top of all of that, right, they're going to be facing invasion. Let me say one other thing here. I'll go ahead. I'll go a little limb here on this one. When it says in Exodus that Pharaoh finally let the people go when they start heading towards the sea, what are they talking about? It's during tribulation. I mean, they ain't gonna be sitting still. You think people would? No, they're gonna be together. It's gonna be an army. The Nation of Islam, you understand? Elijah Muhammad's Nation of Islam, you understand? We'll be here. They'll be like an army. They'll be together, and they'll be fighting together, right? All the way to where? To the sea, to the west coast. See, that's what it said. They were fighting their way to they were trying to get to the sea. And they got to the sea, then it says, okay, we're between the sea and Pharaoh's armies because they're going to be chasing them. It says that the sword going to be after them, they'll be chasing them, trying to get rid of them. You see? And the demon's going to be helping them. That was some of them going to try to come at you with they call it blandishment. In this translation, hypocrisy. See? Because they can be infiltrating, trying to get, trick you up. And when you get to the West Coast, it says, they call it the Red Sea. Okay, if you read the Injil, who is the sea? The sea is China, the Chinese, the Orientals. And they're mostly communists. Red Sea. So they're talking about, right? Because they're going to be right there at that point. When they get there, that's going to be it. They're going to be there. By the time they get there, that's going to be an invading army. They're going to be right there embarking right, on the coast. So between them and Trump's armies is trying to eradicate them, right? And so it says, right, the sea was parted. How was the sea parted? See? If you read chapter 17 again, it says the reason why it says these 10 kings, that's China, India, the only reason they made war with the harlot, right? Because it was, they said, the only reason said they was inspired by the God himself. The God put in his heart to do it. That means and it says that the goat had 2 eyes. Between that's he's guided by fraud. And so at that point, right, see, that's when he says, okay, because remember, he's the one that's controlling this affair. He's the one who controls it. Because if you understand what I've been saying before, the reason why they pushed at this war at this particular time, because now the Shia has total control, Farad has total control of the Middle East, all the resources, all the oil and everything, Mecca, Medina, all of it, Jerusalem, all of it. And China, India is totally dependent upon those oil supplies. So they have to do what America wants, what the Farad tells them to do if they want to continue getting that oil. So he says, okay, part and let my people through. Ain't no water gonna split and people walk on dry land. Get that BS out of your mind. It's not like that's all mathematics. That's what happens. He tells them, let my people through. So they let them through. See? But they close in on Trump's armies and wipes them out. I keep telling you, the flood is not a flood of water, it's a flood of humanity. Because they're the flood. China and the other flood that's going to destroy America. So I hope you understand that. See? It's not going to be any spooky stuff going on, brothers. It never have, never will be. That's what's going on. I'm trying to put this stuff in context and make it clear to you. See? Once they get there, see, that's the help they're going to get. So they're going to get a little help. So he says, part. And that's how they get out. Angel explains it. Angel explains also in a different way, but it says the same thing. So I'm not asking. One day maybe I'll explain it from the angel point of view. Right now I'm explaining it from the Daniel point of view. So that's what happens. They're told apart. Because in the story it tells you, oh, well, they parted and they was ready to walk through on dry land. Well, first of all, even if they was able to split the ocean, I mean, he was going to split the waters, so the land still would be dry. How the land gonna get dry? So the great wind came up. Remember the great wind? So the water still would be dry, be muddy or something, right? But anyway, that's what it means. It means they're able to get through, get transportation to get through. They said separate, let them through. And let them through. And then they close in on Trump's armies and wipes them out. They invade, they wipes them out, then they invade into America. They take over first they take over the West Coast, the breadbasket, and they starve everybody to death here. People eating their children, eating their pets, eating their whatever. They're gonna eat it all up. So they're gonna starve to death. And so they're gonna have no pity on the old folks, nobody. And they're gonna wipe this country out. So they're gonna take take it down. They're gonna take they're gonna take all their young folks, right? They're still strong and healthy. They're gonna take them into captivity. They're gonna never come out. See? But they're gonna all end up in Europe. Europe, I'm gonna say as I'm close. You say, where's hell at? Hell is going to be in Northern Europe, right? And what the Quran says it's going to be a place where it's going to be a place of refuge, not refuse, right? That's garbage and urine and feces. That's what we're going to have to eat up there, eat and drink. And they're going to be bowed in. I'm not going to tell you who's going to be bowed in because they might anticipate and try to wipe them out. But they're going to be certain people, right? They'll be Muslims, certain people. It's got a bone to pick. They're going to be the ones that keep them locked up in there. It's going to be cold. See? Only then you're going to have this garbage. and urine and feces to eat. See? That's why it says, from dust thou art, and from dust thou shalt return. Remember, Adam was raised from dust. I spoke about that. That he's the dust of the earth. That means the earth represents European countries. So he's the dust of it. So he says, from dust thou art, from dust thou return. So that's where they're going to return. That's where they're going to end up at. Just like we put them up there back in Yaakov's time, after they came out of, after Yaakov finished them, we locked them up in Europe for 2,000 years. Then they'll be locked up again. But this time they're never coming out. They're going to turn back to the beast they were originally. They're going to lose all family ties will be broken. Right? All language, they will lose ability of language. There will be no friendships, no kind of relationships at all. There will be no friendship, nobody, everybody will be against everybody. Because the only food they're going to be eating is each other. And the Quran says, when they have skins, when Allah burned their skins off, they were given new skins. What does that mean? Because during that time, remember, the energy levels will be very high. Everybody being renewed. But they're going to be renewed too. They're going to be receiving energy. They're going to be healthy. Everybody's going to be healthy. You'll be renewed. You'll return back to your youth. See, every 50 years, it's going to get better and better and better. It's going to be better and better for them too, as far as physically. But would you want to be in, it's like somebody put you in prison. They say you'll be in prison for the rest of your life. But then you find you get younger now. Because if you go in prison, you're just going, you feel, well, I'm going to be dead in 80 years, so I can't live more than that. Well, you find you're going to live 300,000 years, but you're going to get healthy, man. Oh, man, that's a life sentence, man. You could say you've got life. We say, well, I'm only going to be 70 years old, man. Well, that's only about 10 years, right? What you find, once you got in and say, hey, man, you're going to be 1,000. Wow. That's what I'm saying. Because they're going to be healthy, too. But would you want to be healthy in that environment? It means you eat shit and not die from it. You can drink urine and not die from it, but that's what you got to eat, and that's what you got to drink. So the only other meat they're going to have is each other. They'll be eating all of each other. That's why they ain't going to have no friendship. No, you going to be no friends, no buddies. Everybody be scared of everybody else. So it says every time their skins are burnt, they get new skins. That means they're going to be so healthy. But they're going to be in prison. They're going to be in prison up there, not going to be able to get out. See? And Jesus said, the worm would not die. What do they mean? That means their sex drive will be on steroids. It's like those rappers. You see those rappers? That's all they do. It's like, do they stop to eat? That's what they're going to be. And the women, they're going to be chasing the women down. The women, they catch them, right? They have sex with them. Because it's not going to be, it's like, normal times, you do your thing, and all of a sudden, you're satisfied. No, it says, they'll never be. It's like rabbits. See, they got sex 24/7 and never be satisfied. See, the sex drive will be on steroids like you wouldn't believe. See, but they be checking the shred, chasing down these women, and women be scared to death, running like hell, because they know if they get caught, now they're gonna copulate with them, they're gonna eat them, try to eat them too. So they have babies born in that situation. It's going to be, that's what hell is, brothers and sisters. That's what hell is. Ain't no place that you go after you die. That's it. And they're going to live long lives because they be so healthy. So healthy they can eat shit and not die from it. Drink piss and not die from it. You imagine that? See? Eat it, it can't keep you alive. See? But you won't have the will to not eat. But so you got to taste it. You got to, that's the hell that's awaiting them. From dust thou shall return. See? Because they're going to be enslaved. But ultimately, right, when everything's, all the wars over, all said and done, that's where they end up in Europe. Northern Europe, locked in and never come out. That's where they're going to be. Until they find it all, eventually all gone. There'll be hundreds of years from now. Maybe thousands, maybe hundreds of years from now before they're all just finally no more. That's the hell. Okay, brothers and sisters. Remember, Farad loves you. You're the apple of his eye. You got two resurrections. The resurrection of Lazarus will not take place until the 4 winds blow, which is about to happen. This war is about to break out. Everything will change. You got the God in the east and the God in the west. You say it tell you be two. It'd be Jesus and the Mahdi. Even the Shia, even the Sunni and the Shia agree with that one. So okay, brothers and sisters. Think I covered everything? Assalamu alaikum.